Guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have update number 3 for the Pan Those Eyeshadows for you guys. I'm sure you guys all know by now that this has been started by Alexi, who is also doing it again this year. She skipped 1 or 2 years, but it's good to have her back in here as well. And I've been working on 5 eyeshadows that I've been trying to hit pan in over the last month. Let's take a look at how I did. And I'm just going to start from the top, going through the shades that I have been working on the longest to the shortest. The first one being the Naked palette. In here I'm working on the shade Half Baked, which I think we're all really familiar with, is this shade right here. I do have this on my lids right now, a little bit topped over the like Army Green Jewels shade, but mainly like on the inner part, kind of going towards the middle. And I'm actually thinking about swatching it today. This is what it looks like. It's an amazingly like nice metallic golden coppery type shade. I really like it. So that is that one. And like as you can see, I do not have pan in it just yet. There is a little bit more of a dip that you can actually see. If you look in a close-up, you will be able to see that as well. I've used this an additional 5 times since my last update, which brings me to a total of 12 because I used it 7 times before. But I'm hoping to be focusing on it a little bit more in the near future because this is one of the ones that, like I said, has been in here the longest. Then next we have Discreet, and that is in the Vice palette right here. Discreet is a very like lighter transition-y shade. It's this one right here. It's a bit more cool toned, and I have that in my crease as a transition today as well. It never really like stands out very much because it's somewhere in there. It's a transition shade, so yeah, not the most interesting one to talk about maybe, but this is what that one looks like. And as you can see, like, it's a tad bit darker than like my skin tone, but it's definitely not a very out there shade, and it's a full-on matte, so I like it. It works really well for in my transition shade. It seems relatively powdery, but at the same time it does take quite a long time for me to hit pan on it. This is definitely the shade I have been wearing as my transition shade the most over the last month, and just double checking, I've used it 16 times over the last month, which brings me to a total of 49 uses, and there is no pan yet. I was so hoping that I would be there now, and I do feel like I'm really close, so hopefully next time I will have pan in that one, but no pan yet, so yeah. We're just gonna keep using it. Then more exciting news, this is the original palette from Sleek, as you can see when the light hits it properly. In here I was working on the pink shade, and as you can see, well, not from here maybe, but definitely in the close-up, I did hit pan on this one. Last time I said it, I felt like I was really close on that one, and I was, because it took me only 2 more uses to actually hit pan on it. Let me swatch this one for you guys as well. I just swatched that on my arm right here, so I actually have the full like quint up there, but yeah, it's a shade that I have on my arm right here, which is basically just like a pink with a golden sheen to it. Yeah, and I've used that a total of 14 times before I hit pan on it. I think I've already used it a good few times before I rolled it into this project as well, because the original palette was one of my like more like earlier on palettes, so I didn't have like 20 different palettes that I could pick from back then. I just really only had like maybe 4 or 5 palettes maximum, so yeah. So that was shade number 3, which I did hit pan on, so at least we're rolling 1 new shade in this time around. Then another Sleek palette. This is the Jewels palette, and in here, as I already mentioned, I'm working on the Army Green shade, this one right here. And I have that kind of over a good part of my lid as well, Half Baked top on it on the inner part, and I also kind of blended that in my crease a little bit because it is a slightly darker shade. It's a little bit more dry than some of these other Sleek shades. So that is what it looks like. It also has a bit of a golden sheen to it, so like you guys seen that before, but all of them are kind of in a similar family because they do all have like that golden sheen, except for this one, of course, is pretty cool tone, but the green and that gold, like it kind of is a nice transition, this one, between cool tone and warm tone. Because the green is more cool tone, and then the golden sheen makes it a bit more warm toned in my opinion. But yeah, that is what I've been working on as well. I've used that one 5 times as well over the last month, which brings me to a total of 19. It doesn't look like I'm like extremely close to pan yet, but like I know like some of the sleek shades, like this one is a little bit more dry. The creamier ones seem to go a little bit quicker, like the pink shade right here. This one I think will probably take me at least another 10 to 20 uses before I hit pan on it, but I don't mind it yet, so we're just gonna keep working on it. And then lastly we have the shade that I think I rolled in the first update, and that's from the Coastal Scents Creative Me palette. And in here I have been working on the yellow shade right here. This one as well like has a little bit of a shimmer in it. It's a bit more like powdery in a way, but it's still a nice yellow shade. I put that in my inner corners today just to make sure that all the shades that I hadn't hit pan on yet I was wearing. And this is also the look that I have been doing most often with these shades, especially since I already hit pan on this one quite early on. So this was kind of the palette that I was working with when I was working on like just my Panda palette shades. So this is the look I've been wearing the most with that. And I just put the yellow in the inner corner because I didn't really know where else to put it for now. But especially now going into spring, I think it's going to be really nice to be using that yellow a little bit more again. And this one I hadn't actually used yet before this update, so I've used it 5 times in the last month, which is the total amount of times that I used it as well. And that is it for like the shades that I had in here. But as I did hit pan on one shade, it means we're going to be rolling something new in. And for that, of course, I'm using the Pretty Random app. Right now I have 125 shades that I have not hit pan in yet, so I put it 1 to 125. Let's see what we end up with. This is shade number 88. Let's see what that is. 88. Oh, 88 is actually also in the Coastal Scents Creative Me palette, so I already have that here, which is nice. Creative Me palette. And it is shade number 3 in here, which I don't know. Ah, okay, that works. I like that shade. It's this shade right here, 1, 2, 3, if I hold it the other way around. So it's a like really warm brownish shade. Let me switch that right underneath. Yes, yeah, that is definitely a shade that I like using. It's also a warm shade, so it fits in nicely with everything that we already have there. It's kind of like, it leans orangey, but it still has a little bit of brown in it, so it's kind of a coppery brown orangey shade. And yeah, it definitely works with the other shades that we have here right now as well. So I am not mad about that one at all. I think it will work well in spring, but also in fall, which I hope I hit pan on it by fall time. But yeah, this is what we are working with right now. So like I said, I have 125 shades that I could kind of pick right now that I had not hit pan in yet, and that was not in another project yet. I have about 15 shades that already are in projects, including the 4 that I already have in here, which brings me to 140 shades that I didn't hit pan on yet. And by this point I have 26 shades in which I did hit pan. So that brings me to a total of 16.8% pan, which is not too bad. Like, I could see myself getting to the 20 mark, hopefully. I'm also hoping to actually finish a few shades off this year. So let's see how that's gonna develop, but 20-25% hopefully will be possible this year. So let's see. But yeah, that is it. This is the palette that I'm gonna be working with. Like, do let me know if you guys have any ideas for things that I can do with this combination. Also keep in mind that I still have my Pan palette and some other shades that I'm working on, so maybe you have some nice ideas to kind of incorporate those together as well. And yeah, that is it for today. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Bye bye.